So unfortunately we weren't filming, but it's been a long time since I like floored it in this truck, so I felt like doing it. And it got to third gear, just pulling, and it went like, sounded like, as soon as I heard it, I still got power. Apparently I still have something, so maybe I broke a gear. So the bang we heard was just this, we think. That's a best case scenario. It's broken again. I'm not happy. Let's fix it.
Say something.
Fruit salad. Yummy, yummy.
Yummy, 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 yummy fruit salad.
As you just saw from what we just showed you yesterday, that clip was from, I think. My truck has alternator problems. Are we putting the clip with the tester?
Sure.
Okay, so as you saw, we had a voltmeter, and it's reading 12 volts when the truck's off, which is what it's supposed to be. My batteries are pushing 12 volts. As soon as you start it, it goes down to like 1150. So basically, not enough voltage to keep your batteries charged. So it's always using that 0.5 volts. So about 20 minutes down the road, it starts coughing and all that. So we got to take that alternator off. So I guess if you don't know how to take a second gen alternator off, which is what this motor's from, this is the video for you. Or just watch for entertainment. So it's pretty straightforward. I think it's 3 bolts and a couple wires, and then the belt. It's a little harder to do it on here because Ford engine bays aren't made to have Cummins in them. So on a second gen, you don't have an intake. Well, my intake's lower, but you don't have this pipe here, and this is about 6 inches this way. So we might have a hard time getting a wrench on there to loosen the belt, but it's still doable. We start.
Something you guys normally don't see on video, but this is his normal working environment. The floor is his tool storage. Right, Mike?
Right. Might be harder getting in than getting out. But a little bit of persuasion. Look at that. There we go. It says Bosch. However, it also says this: Volkswagen, Audi, and then there's 2 other symbols that obviously the text is too small to be printing, but I'm pretty sure none of those are Mopar or Cummins. Cummins isn't Dodge. Cummins is Cummins. There's no Cummins symbol on here. So either when Dodge built this motor, they used a Volkswagen alternator, highly doubt, or this is not originally from this motor, but still fits the bracket somehow. So this is my new alternator. So it was brought to a starter and alternator shop, and we told them my situation, and they said, try this alternator, just hook up the wire here, that little plug we had. They said don't bother connecting that, see if it works fine. If not, then we can splice in this little wire, which is for a regulator. So if the truck doesn't have a regulator somewhere else, put this on and that should work. So on the two scenarios, I have two options. So yeah, I just gotta install it same way it came off, goes back on. Should be grand. So I'm just gonna plop it in and we'll film that, and then we'll film startup. See if it starts. That's what you want. So everything works. I just gotta put this on and zip tie a couple things out of the way. And then tomorrow I'll take it out on the road, make sure it is for sure good. Because sometimes we think things are good and they're not. And then hopefully that's the last thing I have to fix on this thing in a long time.
Josh is like, no.
No, they'll do more.
Josh is like, it's a
The thing
Ford.
is, it ran so good for like the whole summer. And then when you started doing short trips with it, then stuff just started breaking. So we're gonna work on my truck. So ever since I bought it, I've always had a problem with the pedal, surging and whatnot. And I got a new apps, APPS. We're gonna be installing that today. We'll get more into it when I get it in the shop. So we'll quickly talk about the problem I've been having, and then I'll talk about this new part. So I'll actually start with the history. So when I bought this truck, it randomly would get dead pedals. So like I'd be driving on a 2-hour drive, and at least once, sometimes twice, I would get a dead pedal that would last a minimum of 5 seconds, and sometimes even as long as 10. So I'd be going highway speeds, and I'd try like punching the pedal a bunch of times. By the time it finally kicked back in, I was going, from 100 kilometers an hour or 120 kilometers an hour to 50. Like it was actually like kind of dangerous at times. So I had to get that fixed. So eBay, $35. We bought a APPS sensor. Now, ever since then, I've never had a dead pedal, but I still have surging. I still have problems at idle. When I start up my truck at idle, sometimes it like cuts out for a second, and I believe that has to do with the throttle position, something with the idle. So what we did here, I went on some forums, asked a few people. They said if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, get this part from some guy named Timbo, I guess his name is, and he builds these. So this, I believe it cancels out something to do with the idle. Okay, so the replacement sensor is designed a bit differently, only in the idle voltage portion of it. So it explains what that exactly is, but basically the way I see it, the less electronics I have to deal with, the better. So if you were to go to Mopar, I guarantee you the sensor would be over $100 here in Canada. So this costs about 200 Canadian, about 165 US he's selling it for. And very straightforward instructions, tells you how to adjust voltages and everything. And I also looked on a forum, someone said it's a different mechanism inside of here. So the regular APPS you get from Mopar or whatever has some sort of coil, and this uses a magnet, so at least that's what someone said. So this shouldn't wear out like that one could, and that's a problem that some people have. So it's a more reliable part. I care about reliability. I hate being broken down, even though it seems to happen a lot. And this is where, so this is your throttle cable. And then throttle cable, there's a little piece of steel here, and that controls that sensor. It should be right on the other side of this. Bolts out. Put my tool down. And there's the old sensor. Okay, so these screws, when you take them off the first time, this is the second time, so it wasn't hard, but they're Loctite pretty good. And that's the old cheap $35 sensor. If you look on the forums, like I don't necessarily have a problem with the sensor. Like I could mess with voltages and maybe get it to work right, but people say if you spend like what I did, 35 bucks on a sensor, expect it to work like a $35 sensor. So spend the money and get something that actually works. So I'm sick and tired of all this electronics. That was like my one problem with buying this Cummins, was I knew it was an electronic motor, and I'm a mechanical guy because I think I go by the thing KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and electronics are really stupid. So we have a local Facebook group called 519 Trucks. I put a thing out there, anyone selling a P pump, and someone said, yeah, I'm selling a whole motor.